Absolutely. Talking about the growth of the club, the following season is obviously the iconic first Premier League title. It's a season, I think I mentioned it when you came on stage, I think you were very underrated, what you brought to that team, because it was the best defensive record in the Premier League that year, but some of the best football. I don't know if you do you feel like you were a little bit underappreciated, what you brought to that team?
No, because the people that you want to be appreciated by are your teammates and your fans, and I was, so that's all that matters. Whether I wasn't getting credit outside of Man City, then it's irrelevant, isn't it? So the medals are the same.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter. But yeah, again, really enjoyed that season. Had spent a lot of time in the summer working on myself due to being nervous what an Italian pre-season was going to feel like. So again, came back really prepared. And I think the back end of the season before was helped me a lot because Colo had been suspended. So the club wasn't buying anyone. I think it was like the end of January. So it was kind of like me and Vinny were going to play. And we created a bond and a partnership. Even though we were close anyway, we just created an understanding. And then I went into that season really understanding my role, and it was to aid Vinny. I didn't need to be the best centre-half. I needed to be Vinny's best partner, and I recognised that. And if I was Vinny's best partner, then we would play together. So, because if it didn't go well, Vinny was going to play, and there would be a new partner. So again, I just recognised that, and I was just at a stage in my career where I enjoyed that, and it wasn't just Vinny. It was pretty much I was an older player then. I was touching 30, so yeah. I was recognised as one of the older players in the group, and just helped to fill a void whenever it was needed.
Best season of your career, would you say?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Again, because it's a league title in terms of what the outcome was, but I don't think it was personally. I think the best season was probably my second season at Everton. Yeah. I think I went on to score 10 goals and stuff. So personally, that was probably the most, or the best season for me. But in terms of the best season of my career was definitely the title winning, 100%.
You can look back now and it must be a lot of pride thinking you were part of that very first team in so many years that has then led to the success of what we've gone on to achieve now.
Oh, 100%. Again, I think we're all aware of the importance of that time, and even so much so to when I seen the chairman on the pitch after the Istanbul game, and he referenced it, and I was like, you enjoy this moment. You don't need to find time to say to me that I played a part and we played a part as in that group of players in this success. Like that's irrelevant at this moment in time. Just enjoy the Champions League win and the fact that you're treble winners. So yeah, I think pretty much every fan and member of the club is aware that Sergio's goal, Yaya's goals, and that group of players are equally as important to the success that this club has had. Yeah.
2 questions before I start grilling Shaun instead. You've already given an answer to one, to be fair. Best player you ever played with at City, Yaya Toure.
Yeah, but it's not as easy as that. I'm not like, because there's a lot of great players. It's funny, like the best footballer I played with was David Silva. Yeah. And there's a difference, in my opinion, between a footballer and a player. So David was beautiful. He trained immaculate every day. He could do things that probably only a handful of people that could do. And then you have a player that when he wants to decide the game and win the game is won. So whenever Yaya Toure played well, we won. There was no other outcome to the game. It was like kind of like, I would just turn it up. And I'd never experienced that. I'd gone through my career, manager saying, you can't turn it on and off like a light. He could.
He was the exception.
There was a few exceptions, to be fair. Sergio was an exception again. So again, I would say David's the best footballer I played with. Yaya was the best player. And I still believe Sergio will be the greatest signing this club has ever made. I don't think anyone will emulate what he's achieved.
Yeah, his legacy and everything makes sense. And then the final question, it may well be the same answers of what you've said. From when you were playing City, who was your toughest opponent?
Playing against City?
So if you're playing against City, who was your toughest opponent?
Playing against City? Don't know, to be fair. City didn't finish, when I was at Everton, we didn't finish above us once, so, and I used to score against City a lot, to be fair. Toughest opponent? Shaun would be one, definitely.
Nicholas Anelka?
No, I didn't play against that City. He was at Chelsea then.
I was going to say, he's sat right there.
Shaun would be one. Shaun would be one. But Shaun was tougher at Chelsea for me. Yeah. He was at Chelsea when I was at Everton, so yeah, I don't know. Stevie
Stevie
was
Ireland,
Stephen
wasn't it?
Ireland.
Yeah.
Jesus, like when he chose to read the game from midfield, Stevie was tough to bypass. So yeah, Shaun and Stevie.
I think he's another player where, I mean, City fans appreciate him now, what he brought and how important he was. But outside of City, maybe people don't give him the credit he maybe deserves for the influence he had.
Yeah, again, I think that happens a lot with homegrown talent. I think they only probably get appreciated from their teams until they venture out or expand on their career. But Stevie, yeah, I think anyone that's played with Stevie will know his IQ. He's very, very high, and his technical ability is very high as well. So, yeah, it's a shame he didn't have a longer career at City, but yeah, the club was going in a direction that, in the greatest respect, they could afford to risk not having Stevie Ireland and then go and buy a Samir Nasri or David Silva and then produce the goods as well.
Absolutely. Joleon, thank you for that. That was really interesting. Shaun, I'm sorry it's time. Yep. Feet up, mic away. Shaun, mic in. Let's go. As you've said earlier, you joined the club in the late 90s and played under someone that you said was your favourite manager in Joe Royle. That was a period where, I mean, it started at our lowest ebb as a club, but it turned into probably one of the most incredible highs we've ever had. And I don't think there's many clubs around the world you can really say that about as much as you can with City. So what was it like for you to be a part of that team, and not just part of it, learning your trade in that incredible squad that we all know and love?
It was unbelievable. I think I always take it back to the times where I was training at Platt Lane in Fallowfield, and that one pitch that 3 teams used to share regardless of the weather, and the fans would crowd around the side and watch us train as a kid, and that kind of what made me fall in love with the club. And then, you know, they're in Division 2 and they sell out all their season tickets, so on, and then the club we just grew. And there was a stage that I went through at that club where the bigger boys were getting moved over to like the under 18s that it was at that time, and the reserves, and I was like, well, what am I doing wrong here? Like, I feel like I'm doing better than most of them. And Alex Gibson and Frankie Bunn used to pull me aside and say, just be patient, your time will come, sort of thing. And then Joe Royle came with a saying. It was me and another winger called Chris Shuker, at the time of Scouse Lad, and he used to call one of us his pocket rocket, and we used to just let us be free, and went over to the reserves one time and just never came back. And from then, the boys at the team, like Paul Dickoff and Goal, and they used to call me a bouncy ball, because basically whenever they kicked me, I would just kind of just bounce back up and keep running. And it wasn't because it didn't hurt, it was because I was more interested on getting on the other end of the ball than staying down for a free kick that personally I know I'm not going to take, so I'm not going to get an assist, so I might as well kind of carry on running. And I just enjoyed getting people off their seat.